Proliferating is a top-tier mechanic, and the counterintelligence precon gave Jeskai a top-tier proliferating commander. The deck itself is artifacts, with a healthy dollop of +1/+1 counters and charge counters to proliferate. The commander is the blue, red, and white Kilo Apogee Mind, a 3/3 artifact creature with haste that proliferates whenever it becomes tapped. For the newer players, proliferating will have you choose any number of permanents and/or players, and then give each another counter of each kind already there. You're doing the thing, and then doing the thing even more. Kilo as a 3-drop with haste makes ramp spells like Pentad Prism and Everflowing Chalice feel amazing, and you can find them in the deck. But these aren't the most exciting reprints, and certainly not the most valuable. That award goes to Darksteel Reactor. This 4-mana indestructible alternate win conditions only other printing is a whopping $13.40. This printing is about $1, so look out for a hot single near you. Swansong is another reprint that's over $10 for the cheapest other printing. Proliferating Menace Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus and the Game Ender Cyberdrive Awakener each come in around $6.50. Ripples of Potential, a proliferating protection spell, also $6.50. And finally, the card advantage engine Joyra Weatherlight Captain coming in at just under $4. That totals out to over $47. With the deck price currently sitting at exactly that amount, and without even looping in any new spells, I'm calling this a certified value buy. But it is time to talk about those new spells. My favorite is the Spacecraft Uthros Research Craft. Spacecraft are artifacts that tap creatures at sorcery speed to accrue charge counters equal to the power of the creature they tapped. When they get enough counters, they gain abilities and turn into stand-alone creatures. With 3 charge counters, this spacecraft gains the ability of letting you draw a card whenever you cast an artifact spell. You even get to tack on a bonus charge counter. At 8 charge counters, it becomes a flying 0/8, which is misleading because the spacecraft gains an additional point of power for each artifact you control. A safe way to tap Kilo is Clutch, especially since Kilo has the 3 necessary power to unlock the fantastic card advantage ability. And eventually it'll hit like a truck. Or a spacecraft, I guess. My other favorite is Patrolling Peacemaker. This 2/white artifact creature is a 0/0 that enters with 2 +1/+1 counters and lets you proliferate whenever an opponent commits a crime. While I was playing Magda's Recidivists, a deck that plays janky artifacts to constantly commit kooky crimes, the Patrolling Peacemaker got cast. It didn't stop my crime spree, but my crimes were certainly punished. Anyway, committing crime is an inevitability in Commander games, and it's going to feel great when your game plan is being advanced because of them. Depth Shaker Titan is the new artifact Bomb. It's 5 and 2 red for a 5/5 that enters and turns any number of target non-creature artifacts you control into 3/3 artifact creatures. The downside is that you have to sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. The upside is that all artifact creatures you control have melee, trample, and haste, which should end the game before the beginning of the next end step. You'll notice that you can target your lands if they happen to be artifacts to pack an even bigger punch. And that brings us nicely to the Manabase, which does feature the single color artifact lands first printed in Mirrodin: Great Furnace, Ancient Den, and Seat of the Synod. The 3 indestructible artifact tap lands made it into the deck, as well as the Mycosynth Gardens, which can become a copy of a non-token artifact you control. The recurring Buried Ruin and proliferating Karn's Bastion can be found as welcome utility lands. And overall, there are 40 lands. Higher than normal, but that comes with a higher color distribution than normal, with 24, 22, and 22 for white, blue, and red respectively. I'd also recommend playing with the 40 lands a couple of times to see how it feels. The number of tap lands is 12. There are 4 conditional tap lands and 24 lands that enter untapped. Now this doesn't count as any part of the budget upgrades, but you have to get Secluded Steppe and Lonely Sandbar out of this deck. Vivid Meadow and Vivid Creek are way better tap lands. Gemstone Mines and Tendo Icebridge play well with Proliferate, but I'd even prefer a basic Plains and Island instead. Now that that's off my chest, it's time to get into those 10 budget upgrades, totaling just over $6. And let's start with the Vehicle package. Unlicensed Hearse, Reckoner Bankbuster, and Recon Craft Theta. Each of these can be crewed by Kilo alone, enabling the Proliferate and turning them into creatures, while providing their own flavor of upside. Unlicensed Hearse is 2 mana and adds Graveyard Hate to the deck. Simply tap the vehicle to exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. This category needed a little help, but the vehicle can also get pretty scary with its power and toughness equaling the number of cards it gobbled up. Reckoner Bankbuster is a 2-mana 4/4 and enters with 3 charge counters on it that can be used to draw a card for 2 mana at instant speed. It's not the best rate for card advantage, but proliferating will always make it an option. Recon Craft Theta is 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer. It creates a little alien dude when it enters and provides the all-important proliferate whenever it attacks. You can find these cards for 45 cents, 43 cents, and 71 cents. Springleaf Drum is a necessary addition. This 1-mana artifact can be tapped to tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 color of mana. That was a weird thing to say out loud for some reason. Anyway, having ways to tap Kilo without needing the robot to put itself in harm's way by attacking is key, and this gives you a mana out of the deal. Springleaf Drum is 52 cents. And speaking of keys, it's nice to have a way to untap Kilo to unlock even more proliferation. The 1-mana Manifold Key is the next addition. This artifact has 2 activated abilities that require you to also tap the key. For 1 mana, you can untap a target artifact, and for 3 mana, a target creature can't be blocked this turn. Both of these modes help, but the first one is really good in this deck. Untapping Lux Cannon to destroy another permanent, lands included, is gonna feel great. Or getting another +1/+1 counter on all your creatures with Steel Overseer. Or untapping an Astral Cornucopia that's been getting proliferated. And trust me, the list keeps going. It's unassuming, but it will put in work for 99 cents. Thoughtcast is the next addition because this is an artifact deck, and paying a single blue to draw 2 cards thanks to affinity is always going to be good. Thought Monitor is already in the deck, and I thought it could use its buddy. Thoughtcast can be found for 98 cents. Modern Horizons 3 has 2 cards with static in the title in some capacity. Each can go in this deck, but I'm only adding 1. If you want to quiz yourself, give it a think, pause the video, and let me know if you got both of those cards in the comments. I guess while you're down there, you can subscribe to the channel. Okay, that's enough stalling. The cards are Metastatic Evangel and Static Prison. Metastatic Evangel is the best turn 2 play in my Arwen Mortal Queen deck, because the proliferating when a non-token creature enters goes really hard with her indestructible counter. But that deck has 36 creatures to trigger the Evangel, while the end result of this deck will only have 24. And that means the single white Static Prison is the addition. This enchantment enters and can target and exile any non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. It also gives you 2 energy counters. Those will come in handy because you need to pay an energy every turn to keep it around. But you're going to be proliferating those energy counters up and up and up, aren't ya? It's not as neat as the Dispatch and Swords to Plowshares in the deck, but it's a hyper-efficient answer to any non-land permanent. Static Prison is 13 cents. Assaultron Dominator is the first creature addition. You may have thought energy was over, but it's not going away. Not on this channel. This 1 and a red 2/2 enters and gives you 2 energy counters, and then whenever an artifact creature you control attacks, you may pay 1 energy counter. In return, you put your choice of a +1/+1 first strike or trample counter on that creature. I'm telling you, this is gonna feel so good to play on curve turn 2 into Kilo. Assaultron Dominator is 24 cents. The trusty Stonecoil Serpent is next. This artifact creature has reach, trample, protection from multicolor, and enters with +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Get it out early to watch it grow, or shut the door on your opponents with a big boy late. Stonecoil Serpent is 76 cents. The final addition is Lulu Stern Guardian from Final Fantasy. The 2 and a blue 2/3 has a 3 and a blue button you can press to proliferate as many times as you can afford. That mana sink will prove useful, but the protection she offers, putting a stun counter on a target creature attacking you, may be more impactful. Sure, you take a hit, but if you can keep proliferating, that creature and others that follow will be down for the count. Lulu Stern Guardian is $1.05. And just like that, 10 additions have been made to the deck, and here they are basking in all their glory. But now it's time for cuts, starting with Moxite Refinery. I get the appeal of this artifact, but the transfer of the counters isn't accelerating your counters in this deck, like how you would see with the combo of Hardened Scales and Nesting Grounds, for instance. Pull from Tomorrow is getting cut. It's a great way to make use of massive mana when you're popping off with an Everflowing Chalice, but outside of those narrow spots, it's too inefficient for me. Chaos Warp is next. When you're in white, you don't need a card like Chaos Warp unless you're in on it for the chaos. Titan Forge needs 6 mana to get its first charge counter, which is a hefty price. The reward of a 9/9 is solid, but I just have a bad feeling about it. Universal Surveillance is in a similar spot as Pull from Tomorrow. This deck doesn't poop out artifact tokens like some Clue or Treasure decks to make that Improvise as impressive as it looks. Chain Reaction is my least favorite of the 3 board wipes in the deck, and I like to cap it at 2. The other 2 being Fumigate and Organic Extinction. There's just no damage to creature synergies that make the possibility of not being able to destroy every creature worth it. And your opponents may have those synergies, making me like it even less. Empowered Auto-Generator is trying to do what the other proliferating mana sources are doing, but costing 4 mana and entering tapped makes it a tough sell. Phyrexian Metamorph is also being cut. Now, I wouldn't recommend cutting this if you plan on upgrading this to a high power level, on account of it being able to copy the One Ring and other busted things like that. This version of the deck won't be touching those levels, making the targets less appealing. Deep Glow Skate is really gonna pump those endorphins when you're having a good game, but it's gonna be a pretty goofy looking 3/3 when you're not. And finally, my boy Depth Shaker Titan is getting cut for the same reason as Universal Surveillance. If this deck reliably had random map or food tokens laying around, then this is a slam dunk, but it's mostly valuable engine pieces that you'll be putting on the line, and that's a bit spooky. Before wrapping up, I want to call out some incredible additions for those of you not playing on a budget. Paradise Mantle, letting you tap your commander Kilo for mana as a 0 mana equipment, is very strong. Read from the Real is a classic combo piece, and the proliferating Kilo can make for some exciting and fun lines. And do I even have to tell you to play the One Ring? Probably not, but stacking those burden counters will stack your hand to let you easily find a win. On a different note, packing a land like Blast Zone can be an emergency button for you when things are getting out of control. On a third note, working in Othari with those experience counters to proliferate sounds like a grand old time to me. If you're looking for more Edge of Eternity action, click the video right over there. But before you do, please take a moment now to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment if you didn't take the quiz from before. Or even if you did. See ya!